right, guys. So it looks we were talking and it looks like we actually stopped broadcasting, and I'm not really sure why. We've been having some power issues, so hopefully everybody will come back over here, and I'll move some stuff around when this is all said and done. And I'll also maybe make a comment.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of start over for people who may be just joining right now. Mm-hmm. So we pick these random topics this week during the week for these talks, and so usually it depends on what we've heard or what questions from Heartbeat group or what we've heard in our McDougall group or anything like that. And so that's why Cheryl was kind of hot for start fresh every day. Mm-hmm. And I think you have to start fresh every day a little bit. And you have to give yourself that grace.
Thank you, Apple.
Yeah, thank you very much. Apple, I don't know what I need to award you, but you email me and we'll figure this out. Me, I like to see kind of a graph. And maybe I want to see a graph now because I am making more consistent progress. And I put the numbers down and immediately, hey, Breathe in Spirituality, and Linda, I'm glad you found your way back, is that, what did I say, since this is before the McDougall program, I had lost about 12 pounds before I started the McDougall program, but I've lost, I think I said 27 pounds.
27 pounds since you went to the doctor.
And then I think that's 17 pounds since the McDougall program. And so what I would like you to see is that every single week it didn't look like I was losing a lot of weight. So a lot of times there would be 5 days of exactly the same weight. It wouldn't matter if I went to the bathroom or didn't go to the bathroom. It's like 2 ounces. And I'm like, okay, fine. So Tuesday will come. I'm getting ready to talk to Stacy. I jump on the scale. And I'm like, okay, this week's the week I'm going to deal with I didn't lose any weight this week. And maybe I have to tighten things up. And then I will have lost 2 pounds.
Yeah.
It's stupid. I don't understand it. And again, what we had mentioned in the other video is that while we weigh ourselves every day because it does not trigger us, it's not creating disordered eating for us, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, we're not encouraging you to do it at all. Okay? I'm just telling you my experience, not what you should do. We are not experts. I'm a recipe developer. And I know a lot of people get triggered by those things, and I have before in the past too. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of interesting because then I have this little notebook. I have I have one of those calendars I never use. You know, it has the month and the weeks and the days. So I've been putting it in the month to kind of just give myself a little bit of data to look at. So I can go now, because it's only been 7 weeks. So I realized I've lost 7.5 weeks. I don't know if it's 17 pounds for me or for you now. It might be just 15 pounds for me.
17 for me.
17, yeah, you've lost.
But I thought you said this morning that you had caught up with me.
I don't know.
I think you said 17.
With all this little change, I've gotten completely confused. I wrote it down and looked at it, and now I'm not sure. But it ends up being about 2 pounds a week. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And kind of our goal is 1 to 2 pounds a week. And what that means to me, and then I'm going to let you talk about your theories and stuff, just so that they have a balance. Mm-hmm. To me, that means if I don't lose any weight 1 week, and then the next week I lose 2 pounds, I'm still golden. Mm-hmm. And there will come a time when we're not going to lose weight for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, since we're just on the regular McDougall program, we might tweak it some, since we are seeking losing weight for specific health issues. You do not have to be in it for weight loss. You can be in it for health alone. Mm-hmm. And just, so again, we've been real clear about our goals this time do have to do with weight loss. but you can still eat this way and gain weight if you need to gain weight or just maintain. But so that's how I'm overarching. I like to see this data, and if it's going up, if it goes down. Stacy also had us write in our little book when we go out to eat, maybe when we have something special. Not so that we can go, we're bad people, look, we did this. No, so that if we have 2 weeks in a row that we don't lose any weight, that's what we look at first. Mm-hmm. What did we do? Did we do some stuff that was different that we're not counting? Or whatever. So I'm going to let Cheryl start at the fresh start every day. And I will say, who is it? Is it Dr. McDougall that says you're as good as your next meal?
Is it Dr. McDougall or is it Dr.
Lyle?
That might be Dr. Lyle.
But just in basically saying, and because that sounds weird a little bit out of context, not like you're a bad person, you're not going to do a good meal, but just that each meal is a chance to get back on track to your goals, whatever they are. And I do see this fresh start every day being very similar to, you've got your next meal to do this.
Right. So the whole idea of starting fresh every day kind of came with back when I was smoking. And, I used to laugh and tell people like, oh, I quit every Monday. And every Monday I'd quit smoking. And then, by Monday afternoon I was smoking again. And this would go on and on and on, week after week. So Kathy had asked me one time, I had asked Kathy one time what she wanted for Valentine's Day. And she just looked at me and said, quit smoking.
And that's what I want.
And I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. And then I planned it all out, and I ramped myself down, and I did all this. I'm like, I'm quitting on Valentine's Day. And then Valentine's got there, and I was excited, and then I quit. And then the next day I was smoking again. And so every Monday I'd quit smoking, and this happened like the next Monday, and the next Monday, and the next Monday. And then all of a sudden, one Monday, it just stuck. I didn't even realize it at first myself, but it just kind of stuck. And then it was funny because Kathy didn't say anything to me. Nobody really said anything to me. People at work didn't say anything to me. Nobody wanted to rock that boat,
Yeah.
But, and that was it. I was just done. It was almost a cold turkey situation, except for all the times that I'd tried before that.
Well, one of the things we did with the smoking in particular, in case you guys are looking to quit smoking, is I got her to switch from whatever her chemical-laden cigarettes were to American Spirit. Not that you should be smoking American Spirit, but that got her a chance to detox from some of the extra chemicals. Mm-hmm. So then you were just getting off of your tobacco addiction, your nicotine addiction, which I think helped a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. It did. And, it was, and then once it stuck, I made sure that I put myself in situations where, I wasn't going to be triggered to want a cigarette for a really long time. And I'm kind of doing that now. And I've talked about it before with the pizza thing. Yes, Kathy could make me a fully compliant pizza at any given point in time. Mm-hmm. And I would be extremely happy. However, I know that pizza is a weak point for me. And pizza could possibly trigger me into wanting cheese or something, like real cheese. And so I'm not ready to put myself through that kind of test yet. I want more time before I get there. So I'm just not going there with it. I'm just avoiding it.
And one of the things may happen, and is that it won't feel like a test.
Yeah.
So something that might feel like a test to you now may not feel like that in 6 months to a year. So let's say maybe going to a friend's house or going to a specific restaurant. Like with us going to Cheesecake Factory a while ago, I was very interested to see, were we going to be like, oh my God, I really wish I could have cheesecake. That looks so good. And they don't have my favorite one at this season anyhow. So that took that off the table. But in fact, we didn't feel like that at all. And our friends had French fries. and I didn't look at them going, ooh, I really remember
Yeah.
those. It was like, no, we've got this giant salad.
We were like really enjoying
we
that
were
salad.
enjoying our salad. And I know that sounds like we're making that up a little bit, but so
No.
far it's true. At some point, I feel like when we're tired and hungry and unprepared, we're much more likely to have these like, ooh, I wish we could just go to this place and get some French fries like we used to. It's not, I don't sit around going, oh, I miss all the deep fried things, because I don't deep fry in the house. And this morning, actually, in the McDougall meeting, one of the things that came up was the chicken fried tofu from Whole Foods, which is delicious. But I can also make a compliant version in my air fryer that doesn't cost me $12 a pound off the hot bar at Whole Foods.
I am not a good hot bar eater. Like,
oh, she's $30. It'll be. I pick out like the smallest piece, the lightest pieces of broccoli. Like I totally try to game the hot bar.
yeah, and then I just like go for all the heaviest
She'll get
things.
a potato or something. I'm like, you just paid $10 for that. Somebody
Like,
cooked.
by the time we get done doing the hot bar, we could have went someplace really nice.
Yes, because like I can be very, but it helps us right now since food prices have jumped so much and restaurant prices have jumped so much that, like we have enjoyed the vegan Indian buffet and we went last week.
We did, and it was funny because it wasn't this new like
The
unicorn
last time
of a buffet, and now it was something that was like, we know we can get this. We both ate a little bit more like
we ate more moderately.
yeah, like
because
we didn't have to try everything this time. We just kind of picked and chose what dishes we liked.
I'm like, I don't know how you buffet. That's how if there's a vegan buffet, and this is how I Indian buffet. I get my rice, and I literally put like 2 tablespoons of everything, usually, unless I know I have a favorite, and then I'll go back and get a little dessert of, whatever my favorite was.
Yeah, and it also helped me that they upped their spice game a little bit this week, and it was a little too to the spicy range for me on several of the dishes, so that also helped me just kind of dial back a little bit. So,
but I think it's one of those things that, like, again, and I know we'll probably say this at every show no matter what it says, is that being prepared a little bit. So like yesterday, Cheryl made rice, I cooked up potatoes, I made a pot of beans, so we have all that in the fridge, plus I made some watermelon gazpacho and so a few other little things. So as this week goes on, today maybe we'll have Mexican bowls. Or maybe I also had some leftover stir fry, some leftover rice, and some leftover tofu scramble. And as I was cleaning the fridge, I popped it all in one bag, and that's going to be stir-fried rice. And actually, that's going to be one of our meals today.
okay, cool.
So think about how you can combine leftovers, and if it's just a little bit, like there was just too many beans to fit in this container, so I took some of the rice and made a rice and bean container that we can either put in the freezer or we can eat this week.
Yeah, just having stuff that kind of like grab and go items. I think like, especially for us, the trick is, and I know a lot of people are probably like this too, you want the convenience. Like, we got this way because of convenience foods, because it got so easy to just grab something and nuke it, or go through a drive-through, or like have something delivered. And I mean, convenience is a big factor of life, right? You got things going on and you're busy, and you don't have time. Like, I never know when I'm going to get busy at work and be stuck in meetings for 2 or 3 hours, and then I'm sitting there going, oh crap, I should have ate something.
And when she's gone to the office, we've taken things out of the freezer to send with her. So like we sent soup, and sometimes she eats it and sometimes she doesn't, and that's okay. It's better to have some things. And
It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Well, and Mona's saying, when do I get a health check? So I get a regular physical, which is different than what the old-timey physical is. So I guess she just goes in and I'm getting getting a checkup and a tune-up, and then a month after that, I'm doing labs. So I think it's in October that I'm doing labs and stuff because my thyroid being high has pushed that over. You just had a doctor's visit. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, or maybe not?
Well, it was exactly what I thought. I haven't been doing this long enough for it to actually make a huge impact on my numbers from my labs. And I knew that was going to happen because, the majority of my numbers are coming from the past, 3 months. And I've only been doing this for...
So you're talking about your A1C in particular.
Yeah, my A1C in particular.
Just so they know, because that's something that it shows the past 3 months. So, and there's only like
a month of
that from eating this way now. But the doctor was very happy with a lot of your improvement.
She was, and then also we were able, for some of the things that we were like, wait, how did that go up? It was easy for us to correlate with me having to do the steroid cream.
For her poison ivy.
Yeah. So, but for the most part, everything stayed steady. But I did have some high liver enzymes as well going into this. And she had actually wanted me to also go get an ultrasound and stuff like Kathy did. And I was like, I think I want to wait on that because I just don't think I need that. Mine bounces around, and this is the second test in a row that I have not had any kind of elevated liver enzymes. So she is considering that not even a point for me anymore. And she's going to retract the, what do you call it, a referral to the
liver doctor.
To the liver doctor.
Yeah, and so it's a lot of good in it. And also one of the things that you're navigating the fact that now we have Dr. Lim through the McDougall program, who's your primary care, and Dr. Bean. So, and one of the things Dr. Bean said is if you have 10 GPs in a room, they're going to give you 11 different opinions. So there's a couple of things that we're getting some information about. But in general, she was thrilled and she wanted to know a little more. Mona says, are you buying new clothes or just using a safety pin?
I am only buying new clothes if they are on super sale.
Well, these are new, aren't they?
Yeah, they were on super sale.
Do you want to do a little fashion show? She got some new shorts.
They got, they're for exercising. And they have little leggies built in.
Isn't that cute? So, because we're getting some summer clothes. I am in the infuriating in-between size. So, part of my clothes are too big and part of my clothes are just slightly too small. Although I tried on the pair of pants that I couldn't button 2 days ago and I could button them today.
Yeah.
We have a variety of sizes here in
and
our household.
I got a hand-me-down pair of her pants.
Yes. That's one thing that happened. Yeah, I had gotten some really cool kind of sporty stuff. So
hiking shorts.
Yeah. And I was like, ooh, they fit. But I'm like,
they're kind of big.
I'm much more hourglass shaped than Cheryl is. So we do that. Now, Tracy Reese wants to know, what was harder, quitting smoking or changing to whole food plant-based diet?
I would have to say overall, quitting smoking, but if I would have tried to go whole food plant-based right out the gate when I was still eating meat, I think it would have been equal. But the fact that I had been eating vegan on and off pretty steadily with no meat since 2019, the only thing we really tweaked was we got rid of all the vegan processed foods in the house that I used to love.
And with oil.
With oil. We got rid of anything that had oil in it.
So I'm still eating soy curls. Dr. McDougall on the Starch Solution encourages you not to have more than 10% of your diet soy. But if you're not allergic, you can have it. I think on the maximum weight loss diet, it takes it out. But so some people out there see soy curls as being too processed and tofu as being too processed. And that's okay. We all have our personalized, things that move with us. But we were talking more like Beyond Burgers.
Yeah. A lot of vegan, what they refer to as vegan junk food. That was kind of my staple. Getting rid of that and just like not eating out so much. Like, y'all, we used to eat out a lot. It was a social thing for us with friends, and it was also like, she cooks all day. She develops food all day. Do you really seriously think after she's been doing that all day long and have to clean the kitchen like 3 times that she wants to then turn around and make dinner and have to clean up again?
Well, and sometimes, like, I'm making everything work together, but like sometimes even if we're cooking really delicious, compliant food, it can be a little different about what I want. And it's just because you smell stuff all day, and sometimes I will cook several recipes. But another part of that is you deciding I don't want to cook and you not actually communicating and asking me, because sometimes we have things we can eat. And one of the reasons I put stuff in the freezer is so, let's say I have, what do we have down there? Chili. Chili is my favorite thing. And that is like chili over rice, chili with air fried tortilla chips into nachos. Make a quesadilla with an oil-free almond tortilla. So we actually just took all the super cube chilies out because I didn't realize they were still in the super cubes, and I wanted to freeze the mushroom broth. But to me now,
we've got enough chili for a family of 4 for 6 months probably in there.
We have enough to last us a couple months though. But I think we have 2 cups, 4 1 cups, and some half cups, like maybe 6 half cups in there. But so I'll take one and I'll make like my oat queso, mix that together, put in some Incredibles, and I'm living my best nacho life. And that's a food I love and do miss. And whenever I've had a really hard day, we got to where, queso margarita. Kind of thing, and I made a faux watermelon margarita with some lime and a little bit of 0 alcohol tequila. And so we can still, for me, I sometimes need to have these foods that are comforting to me, but I'm just as happy, if not more happy, making oat queso. I'm not paying $14 for my margarita. I'm not having, to sneak in some vegan queso if there's no vegan queso available, or just being like, well, I'll dip my chips in my beans, right? I get to have what I want. Now, Judy says, I've been trying to get on this way of eating, but I'm not doing very well. How long before your taste buds change? And that's a super valid question.
It is, but I also think it's also individual a little bit, but I can tell you for me, when I first went just vegan, and that's not even counting the whole food plant-based angle of it, it took me a good 2 months at least before I felt confident that I wasn't going to be like, oh, I'm just going through the drive-thru. I can't take this anymore. But then...
Well, you're talking about from going to vegan.
I'm talking about going to vegan.
Okay, so I feel like the question is a little different, because one of the things, and you've noticed this too, I think, is when you go from not necessarily meat eating to vegan, because at vegan, you're still hitting all those oil, salt, sugar things. Yeah. And I will say... So I'm still making Ninja Creamy Pie, right? And I gave some to Katya, and Katya was like, this isn't sweet. Because Katya is Russian, and they do not hold back the feelings. And I was like, we could put some vegan honey on top if you want, or something. But I'm like, it was perfectly fine for me. And you've been eating them too. So I feel like the amount of salt and sugar that we're using is much less. Than before. Like even in our oatmeal, I feel like I'm probably using half the amount of maple syrup than I would have before.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so I think, because one of the things that people say a lot in the whole food plant-based community is, don't worry, your taste buds change. Well, I don't feel like you just wake up one morning and you're like, dang, that potato tastes good. I think you still have to go ahead and help it along. So to me, the main way to make whole food plant-based, no oil, taste delicious is putting stuff on it. Different stuff than before. So like nutritional yeast adds a lot of umami, a lot of flavor. Tomato powder, mushroom powder. Look for blends. Like there's a mushroom blend. If you're not having any salt now, it can be difficult to find some blends, but look for the blends that you can find. I just got a ketchup blend, dry spice blend from Trader Joe's. It does have salt and sugar in it, so it's not SOS. It does not have any oil in it. And we made panini hash browns over the weekend, and I just sprinkled that over, and it was like magic. What did I made something, I steamed some vegetables last night, and I put some of Pinsy's Outrage, which has lots of pepper, a little spice. I put in another garlic citrusy blend and some nutritional yeast and a little balsamic and mixed it all up together. So it wasn't a recipe, but these were steamed broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots. And even Cheryl was like, "What you got? That looks good. What you know?"
I eat way plain. I eat way less stuff on my food than she does most of the time. That's not saying that if she makes a yummy like topping for something that I'm not gonna like indulge in it, but if I was just cooking for myself, I don't go out of the way to like make sauces and stuff. I just kind of.
Well, and usually I have sauces in the thing. So we have a nut-free romesco. We've got a chimichurri sauce. I have a bunch of Asian sauces. So usually I create that. But I would just say, what sauces can you use that you have that are oil-free that you can add into this and to make it taste good? Because even Dr. McDougall is like salt and sugar to taste to make the food palatable, which means make it taste good. He wants you to eat a lot of it. So also cruciferous vegetables and things like that tend to be a little less tasty immediately. Not that they're not tasty now, but if you're trying to eat a lot of cauliflower, I would say make mashed cauliflower. So cook it, puree it with a little bit of nutritional yeast, maybe a little non-dairy milk, a little bit of pepper, some roasted garlic, something like that. Do something to elevate that flavor, because while some people can eat super plain food, and then some people are saying the super plain food tastes like magic, for me, I'm this third person that it tastes like magic once I put my potions and dried things on it. And balsamic vinegar flavored balsamics are the easiest, most compliant way you can carry a little bottle with you. And Apple was kind of saying it's not a light switch. Yeah. Some adjust in a few days, some take a long time.
Yeah.
And Tracy says, I would fail if I saw fries and was eating a salad unless I was sick or lost my taste. I don't like salad for a meal unless I have carbs. And this had pumpkin seeds, it had chickpeas, it had avocado. So avocado is a big treat for us. Pumpkin seeds were a big treat, and we made my delicious ranch dressing. And you guys, I'm going to make the ranch dressing, my cheese powder, and my cheese queso tomorrow on Chef AJ's Live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be sure to come hang out for that. And the thing is like another thing you could have gotten there would have been a veggie burger too. They were out of them. But you could come prepared with something else. But for us, we're just looking like, how do we feel about that? And so actually we go out to eat, and in the car I'm like, so how did you feel? Did you feel like you really wanted this? Did you feel like you really wanted that? And the couple of times that we've let ourselves get something that was kind of like, we weren't sure how we felt about tasting, if it might trigger us, we have had these really long conversations about, like, ridiculously long conversations.
Like hour-long drive conversations.
Well, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like you would do it again? You know, and it's like, no, it hasn't been a big deal for us yet, but it could be situational. Like, I do worry a little bit about when we go to Disney, because Disney, we treat ourselves with food. We're preparing, we've got some cool things to unbox later this week too, that for travel that we want to test out. But it's going to be interesting to see if, like, how do I feel? Do I feel like I'm deprived or not? So far, I don't feel that way. The 90% has, like, got me golden.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mona says that tofu tastes just like KFC. I stay away. And she's talking about the fried tofu on the deep fried chicken fried tofu on the.
Yeah.
And Kathy Sabo saying, try, fail, maybe not fail, maybe it's just the journey. Glad to hear where you're at the journey, or it's a journey. And so we're kind of looking at this as a lifetime thing, and that's why we decided to go ahead and say 90%. 100% is not maintainable, and it's not maintainable in very many things, honestly, because we're people.
And things happen.
So, you know, and Apple was saying, Judy Smith, do you have a specific taste you prefer? Yes, and I could probably help you with that, or point you to a compliant recipe that might hit that spot for you. And Linda says, Cheryl, I'm glad you joined Kathy in front of the screen. You have so much to give. Aww, she's going to turn red. She gets all like... and Justine says she's heard it's 30 to 90 days. I felt, and I mean, maybe it's because I was already eating a lot of vegetables. When we did the 12-day program, I felt like stuff started tasting pretty good pretty quick, because I was trying to, as soon as Cheryl came on board, then I wasn't trying to lure her to the potato side anymore. And Kathy says, I'm not so good with leftovers. They often sit and sit and sit. That's when you put them in the freezer. So
I don't really like leftovers that much either, but I'm getting better with them eating this way. Because now I'm kind of like, ooh, like that stir fry was really good. I wish we had that stir fry again. And lo and behold, there's some in the freezer I can go get.
And so I've been going to TJ Maxx and Home Goods, like I always do. But these are like $3.99. They're ceramic. They have a little microwave thing, but also it means it's all in one. And this is what I would put. Actually, I think you have a butter chicken from the weekend too that we need to move. If you don't eat it today, it's going down the freezer. So I'm kind of trying to portion things out. And then these go down the freezer with a label. And then the next step in our freezer journey that we've not completed, because we have a full upright freezer that's packed with stuff that Cheryl took a bunch of stuff out of, but we need to take everything out and catalog what's on the shelves, because there's like a little thing of refried beans, and there's a little thing of chili sauce, and
there's lots of mystery containers too.
Yeah, so we'll see what that is. And then the goal is to make a list on the front so I can go down and go, I'm too tired to cook. Cheryl, go down to the freezer and get us some things. And some things we do is like a whole 2 people could eat it, and some are grab and go. So that if Cheryl has meetings all day today, even if she's at home, I'm going to eat separately from her. So I can just go grab something I want. It also gives us the autonomy to kind of satisfy our taste buds.
Yeah, and that was one thing I was going to, I think it's super easy for me, because in the past, sometimes stuff that Kathy has wanted to eat for dinner is just stuff that I'm just kind of like, okay, I'll eat that. But it's not been something that I'm like really thrilled about, or it's something that's just kind of like not my thing. And actually eating this way has made it so that I can pretty much eat like whatever I want. So not whatever I want, but no, I mean, but if Kathy says I'm gonna have like broccoli and cauliflower and I'm gonna just put this sauce on it and blah 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 with some potatoes, I'd be like, yeah, no.
She can just have her potatoes.
I can go get my potato, and I go get my mixed vegetable medley out of the freezer, and I put it in my little bowl from Pampered Chef, and I put it in the microwave, and I have instant steamed veggie mix with carrots and green beans and corn. Is there anything else in that? No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. But the thing is it doesn't matter, because like the one vegetable I am not super fond of, I can do it in some things, is peas. So she's team pea, and I'm like, I'd rather have broccoli. And so having these things also, so if you're making these dishes and you have all these leftovers, then just portion it out, and in a month it's not going to seem like leftovers when it's in the freezer.
It's going to be a day when you're like, oh my God, I got to have something, and then you're going to be like, oh, there's chili.
That's how I always feel. I made like 6 quarts of this black bean chili just to go in the freezer, and there's some soups I've made just to go in the freezer, and it helps you a lot of ways. The times you just don't have the energy to cook. It also helps if you're just not feeling well. Now you have some stuff already ready. Now if you're in a position where you can't cook, or maybe you just physically can't cook, you could look into a meal service like Mama Says. I think there's another one that I thought I saw in a True North newsletter. But you can get meals sent to you too. And I know Plant Pure Nation has these meal starters if you're able to do some stuff. But however that works, even if I got Mama Says, if I had leftovers, I know my cheapness would have that in the freezer like within a day, because we are not going to waste that, right? You know, I paid too much money for it. And I have heard a lot of people saying when they get cravings, the Japanese sweet potatoes, the Japanese yams, the Japanese ones are purple on the outside, white on the inside. The Hana yams are kind of white all the way around. And I'm so sad I had to throw out one because it just got too old that I cooked it.
And a bowl of rice kind of does it for me. Like,
that's our favorite treat. Instead of popcorn, a bowl of rice, a little bit of salt. I'm living my best life.
Yeah. Like, if I eat and then I feel like I'm still hungry, and I'm trying to figure out, am I really hungry, or if I'm just craving something and I'm trying to ignore it, a lot of times if I just go back and get just the tiniest more rice, and that takes care of me.
Yeah, and the thing is, and Dr. McDougall is very clear about this, is you're not supposed to be hungry. Now there's a limit, because if you ate a 10-pound bag of potatoes for every meal, you know, you're not really listening to your hunger. Yeah. Hunger signs.
Satiation.
There's no way.
You're not satiated.
Yes. So, and we're supposed to be eating to an 8, not a 15. An 8. So it should be less than old Thanksgiving dinners. But, you know, you feel like you feel real satisfied and like you could go lay down. To me, that's like at a 10.
Now, see, I'm opposite of you, because I feel like if I'm so full that I want to go lay down, then I've had too much to eat.
Oh, and see, I'm thinking stomach acid. If I'm over full, my stomach acid is going to act up, and therefore if I lay down, I'm not going to sleep well. So you take from that what you need to take from that one. I can see how that's confusing. And Kathy said, I heard cholesterol often goes up when you change eating habits. The body's detoxing itself. But your cholesterol was real good.
It went up a little bit.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah. And she said that she felt like it had more to do with my steroid cream than anything. But I have also heard that your cholesterol will go up, and that's why a lot of times they don't want you to do labs for like 6 months to 12 months, so that your body has time to kind of level all that stuff out. And my labs were pretty quick after stopping this, because they were already planned labs. So I just went ahead and did them anyhow, just to kind of see. My cholesterol was already fairly low. So having it go up just a tad bit wasn't really any kind of bells or whistles went off for her at all.
Yeah, it wasn't worrying. And Patricia's saying, do the almond tortillas at Costco follow the protocol? I'm pretty sure they do. Read the label, make sure they say no oil. The burrito size have oil. The smaller size, so Trader Joe's they're about this big, the almond tortillas, and they don't have oil. So
She's talking about the ones at Costco.
yes, I'm pretty sure that's the same brand that private labels Trader Joe's. So
Okay.
everything in Trader Joe's that has Trader Joe's label is some other brand that you can get just a little cheaper.
That's true.
So, and they're the only people that make the almond flour tortillas. But I did notice when I was looking, I think it was at Sprouts or Whole Foods, looking at the big burrito-sized ones, they did have oil in them. So just, oh, awesome. Glad that you were able to join us. There's a tiny bit of truth in this, but I would not put it so harshly. One of the things, not starve a bit and things start to taste better, but really let yourself feel your hunger is what I would say. Because I don't think you should, like, from what I've heard, if you do fasting, it does make food taste better. So I'm not disagreeing with Tracy there. And Dr. McDougall does talk about, really being hungry.
If you want to see like how your body reacts, he says don't eat for, what does he say, for a day or something like that, and he said you'll see really quickly how powerful that hunger drive is.
And so his program really revolves around utilizing the hunger drive to create this easier way of being. But I would say, like, one of the things we noticed was that we got hungry. So we had spent so many years trying not to be hungry, trying to turn that off so that we wouldn't eat too much. And our doctor had us intermittent fasting, and that may work well for you guys. And I know Dr. Greger likes it. But
it has its place at times, I think, yeah.
But the way she was using it was dysfunctional. And like she was like, oh, don't put soy milk in your coffee, just put coconut oil in it. All the oil is fine, right? So it was a mismatch into things that were going on. But as we were doing this, we started realizing, because we ate a big bowl of oatmeal, and we're like, we're still hungry. So we ate another bowl of oatmeal, and then we're like, we're not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
So some of it may be learning really what signals are and what those feel like, or relearning those.
Yes. And I also found that because I was eating so plainly, also during the 12-day program, I was tending to eat just, half my bowl rice and half my bowl vegetables. I ate lots of times. I just had brown rice and a can of green beans. And I was eating so plainly that I think that really helped make my taste buds really quickly get rid of the taste for the oil.
Yeah, and I will say, if we have, like, on the Indian buffet, everything's been not floating in grease. So it's been okay, but I think if we used to go to a lot of different Indian buffets. There are quite a few vegan Indian restaurants where we live, or vegetarian Indian restaurants. And I think if we tasted the oily one right now, we probably wouldn't be able to eat it. It would be unpleasant.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling like luxurious, it feels just kind of like
I feel like the oil now doesn't add to it for me, but it takes away from the taste for me now. Because now, to me, when I taste oil, it just kind of tastes, this is probably not the right word to use, but it tastes dirty to me. Like it has.
It tastes like something you don't want to eat.
Yeah.
I think is a way to translate that. And like, one of the things,
it overpowers the spices and things sometimes, and I just, it takes away from the taste for me now.
Kathy's saying the tortillas are 50% calories from fat, but I know that Dr. McDougall was saying that The small tortillas are fine. So I would check the packet and see what the packet says and not make any assumptions. Because that's what I do. If one size of something is one way, and I think I'm going to read the bigger burrito size.
Yeah, you always got to double check, too, because what may be oil-free this week may not be oil-free next week. You've really got to keep checking. Every time you buy something, you've got to double check that they haven't changed something in that, because they're constantly changing formulas.
So you just have to always check your labels, but it gets easier and easier. And Elizabeth is saying, I used to eat vegan rubbish, now healthy, but disappointed as I cannot lose weight. And one of the things I would say to you is before we started the program, we ate mostly healthy with a few options. So are you eating whole food, plant-based, no oil? Because just taking out the oil
made a huge difference for us.
Because I didn't think I was going to lose any weight in the 12-day program, because I was already pretty darn close, and we were just taking out, for me, like some going out. It just didn't seem like that much oil.
And we already weren't eating out quite as much for the program.
Yeah. So, but I lost 7.5 pounds, and I expected to lose 0 pounds during the program. So if you can tell us a little more about that, or if you want to email me, if you don't want to talk about it publicly, at kathyhester@gmail.com, we can talk, and maybe I can help you troubleshoot, or at least tell you what you're doing differently than what we're doing. It's not a one size fits all thing either.
And everybody's body's different. Everybody's metabolism is different. Body size is going to make a huge difference. The less weight you have to lose, the harder it's going to be to lose it. That's just a fact. It doesn't matter what program you're using. You also have to remember that there's math involved in this. At some point, as you lose weight, you do have to start cutting back on the amount of food that you take in. Because I can't eat the same amount of food that I'm eating now if I'm 50 pounds lighter. I've got to cut that back, because I still have to have that deficit. Deficit. I have to have that calorie deficit, still lose weight.
So, and at some point we'll be maintaining, and then that will be a different way of looking at things. And last week someone had asked me to look at plant-based dads, plural, because he wasn't losing weight. And what he realized for him was that he needed to have more of a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
In general, the beauty of whole food, plant-based, no oil is we're eating calorie density, which allows us not to track our food, because I do not want to track my food.
Right.
Like
that's a huge deterrent, has deterred us in the past. So
and also with me making all my own recipes, that means I have to put in every single ingredient every single time, every single meal. And so for me personally, it's just I don't want to do it. And he's keeping track of his calories now. It's Joey. And I think that's perfect. And it could be a situation that someone else may have to do that depending on what goes on.
Yeah.
But also you should watch it. It's very interesting. One of the things they talked about is how he experimented to find out what his body needed. And maybe you could do that experiment. Maybe you couldn't. It might trigger you if you have an eating disorder, because he does start quite low. And he's not telling anyone else to eat that way. He's just trying to find out how many calories his body needs to still lose weight.
Yeah.
And then I don't know.
And like us, they've also made a decision that they were going to be not 100%, and so that stuff comes into play too. And so with us not being 100%, when we get to that point, when we have to start like tightening the belt, we're going to have to start looking at some of the things right now that we do kind of loosey-goosey, like the occasional air popped popcorn or
Ninja
Creamies and things like that. We're going to have to really dial that in until we
corn tortillas, So again, wet starches versus dry starches, and so like usually the big culprits of eating of higher calorie density and you eating more calories than you're aware of is like flours. So breads and a lot of these things that tend to be super high. We try to do about once a week and not more.
And I have found that if I do like a bun, like if I do a burger and have a bun more than once a week, it does impact me, and I know that already out the gate. So
yeah, and we're doing Ezekiel buns, so we're doing bread with no oil. So again, the first thing, if you're going whole food plant based and you don't understand why you're not losing weight, I would look and see what might have hidden oil in it. Oatly has oil, refined oil. So there's all these different things that have oil. The next thing I would do is try and eat more whole foods, less breads and pasta, even though pasta is even on the maximum weight loss program because it soaks up all that water and gets wet. It's still it's still going to take a little more of that calorie-wise to fill you up than it would potato. Most likely, depending on how you feel. And Kelly was saying she made a big pot of veggie spaghetti pasta from you. And everybody loved it. And I see there's a troll.
Spaghetti, everybody loves spaghetti. And most of the time, people don't care if there's meat in that sauce or not. Just, make a big pot of spaghetti and it makes everybody happy. We used to do that camping all the time. Remember when we'd go camping, we'd just make this big, giant thing of spaghetti.
Well, and between the two of us, we were like so particular about so many things. So I'd bring my slow cooker and an Instant Pot. I'd have groceries. I'd be making stuff. She loves to have all the things that will keep them cold and heat them up. And Betsy's saying, do you find that whole food plant-based sauces last longer in the refrigerator than others? I would say no, because salt and oil can actually help preserve them longer. So you just kind of have to get a feel for it. Most of those sauces, meaning sauces without potatoes, even cauliflower sauces, are going to freeze better. So you can always freeze some of it. And so instead, I've learned to eat more plainly, usually just some Benson's Table Tasty, and that's great. And it's whatever works for you. So if you're someone who's trying to switch to whole food plant-based no oil, and you're like, I can't live without some flavor, get some chili powder, get some garam masala, get a couple of fun blends. Benson's Table Tasty is no salt. If you're trying to go no salt and you're tired of Mrs. Dash, go ahead and make a plain salt substitute with 1 tablespoon garlic powder, 1 tablespoon onion powder, 1 teaspoon ground celery seed mixed together, used as salt. Has no salt, but it gives you a little bit of a salty feeling. Aw, you're so sweet. Thank you.
I think that person's
I know hopefully if Apple is still on, Apple will boot them. I can't boot them from where I am right now, so we're way behind in comments too. And Kathy Sabo made crunch wraps for Labor Day.
Nice.
Flavor from balsamic and mustard and hummus on the tortilla wrap. That's great. Oh, I love that. On tortillas, whole wheat flour, salt, and warm water.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, there's a few things that I have in the works. And yeah, dressings are amazing. And so I made in the sauce class I just did, I made a jalapeno ranch that we put on our actual veggie burgers yesterday. I didn't make the smash burgers. I'm going to try and make them this week for you guys. And it was so yummy. It was just a real treat. Okay. Catalina dressing.
I like a Catalina.
And I know that Well Your World has a Catalina. So look there and I'll see what I can do. She would love that.
Yeah, I love Catalina.
I think that's mostly tomato. Probably tomato paste.
And there's something to make to give it a little sweetness.
You could put a couple of dates in there. I'll check it out for sure. You'll help me remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a variety of basils. So I'm going to, you can freeze it, you can dehydrate it, you can air dry it. Usually what I do, so I had these picked because I was going to make some stuff with them. So I have Thai basil, lemon basil, and just regular basil that I grew this year. And so some of it I'll dry, and I just put it in the dehydrator, but you can air dry it too. If it can be a little humid, so as long as it's not getting any mold, air dry works great. Usually whatever I pick at the end, I just make a big pile and it magically air dries itself. So yeah, that's how I would do that. Oh, from Carborough. Hello, Danielle. You're our neighbor.
Yeah.
I would say no. Though I was looking at, so actually it was the video, I did a Carolina cookout class with these smash burgers because I gave the recipe to my McDougall group. And so I had to go in and I was going to get a screenshot and I was like, and I think I was 27 pounds heavier then. So I could tell it then when I saw that I was heavier. But thank you for pointing that out. That is very kind of you.
It's hard for me because all my shirts are too big and I don't want to get new shirts yet.
Well, you're going to inherit all my cool shirts.
Yeah.
I'm going to be so sad, y'all, to lose all my shirts. There's one now that's a large. This one, the extra largers are fitting okay still. But when I lose all of my, this is so cute. It says it's what's on the inside that counts. And what's really cool is this is glow in the, and you see a bunny skeleton. So I'm going to have to make a new book so I can get myself flush in the t-shirt department. Mona says you can get a box of sizes of bowls with those lids at Costco. Oh, like these guys? I haven't seen these, but Cheryl loves a handle when something comes off a microwave. And actually these we got because I was giving up on the Halloween ones, so we have lots of Halloween ones because that's also very treaty that now we have something that says witch's brew. We're seriously. Oh yeah, there's one magic potion. If you can, you're going to try and get it out. And Miss Iris's, and hello, Miss Iris's. I freeze all my leftovers. They taste fun. So these are some of the new ones we got. There's ghosts and stuff. And
we got these last year.
Yeah, these are my favorite. And then we have another one. This one says magic potion. We have another one that says witch's brew. But there's something about getting your soup out of here in the winter, and it's just it's my favorite holiday bowl. The King's Child said, with this week, Cheryl loves a pasta bowl too. So these are Mickey, Halloween Mickey. I don't know if you can see that.
They're the bowls I wanted when we were at Disney, and I did not want to pay how much they wanted for them, and now they are at TJ Maxx for $6.99
instead of $20 each.
They're usually $29 at the Disney.
And sometimes you can find some really good spice blends and balsamics at Home Goods and TJ Maxx too. Just be sure to read because sometimes even spice blends will have oil in them. So just be careful. And Keisha said I labeled my mystery containers. That's something that's a goal for this week.
It's going to be like what we had to do with the chili, that one that we weren't sure was chili or not. We were both and then we had to just
taste frozen chili.
Taste frozen chili to make sure.
I taste cumin. I'm pretty sure that's chili. And so I have all these different ways of labeling things. I have a dry erase marker. I put masking tape and tape.
And they still come off.
And everything seems to come off.
We haven't tried the label maker yet, though. Maybe we can do that.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. Apple said I ate a compliant cheese sauce every day for a year when I started this way of eating win-win. And having a nice sauce that kind of soothes your soul works for me. And so and you like it when I make the cheese sauce.
I do like the cheese sauce a lot.
And my cheese sauce is stupid cheap. It's a cup of oats, 2 cups of water, and some spices. You do need we use a high-speed blender so that everything gets done and it cooks itself in there. It uses a little bit of organic cornstarch, but I think Marilyn used tapioca starch, but I'm not positive because she can't have corn. But you can also blend it, put it on a stove and whisk it. It's not going to be as smooth, so I tend to then put it back in the blender one more time. So if you don't have a high-speed blender, you can still make it. Oh, Jeremy, thanks for ceramic option for the freezer. I so often end up putting things in plastic. We're trying to avoid that. We're also doing more silicone bags and things like that that can be reused. Oh, hi, Raven. It's awesome to see you. My one aunt and uncle put a magnetic whiteboard, and I got two right over there. I've got one on the fridge. They're tiny little locker ones, but that's exactly what I want to do. Yes, Kathy, do I ever have veggies that freeze in the fridge? Yes.
When the fridge gets too full, stuff starts to freeze.
Is there anything you can do to rescue whatever it was? Zucchini. The higher the water content, the harder to absolutely rescue. However, if you wanted to make a pureed vegetable soup, that frozen zucchini would probably be fine in the base pureed. It's not going to change the taste. It might change the color some. I usually, and actually right now, I hasten our beans at the coldest part of the fridge, and so if they freeze, I'm fine. I don't care. So I also try to arrange things that way a little bit. So like if we have collards, that should go in a colder place than lettuce. But you can make lettuce soup. Yeah. People have done it forever. You can put it in a smoothie if you do smoothies. But yes, I do have that happen a lot. And Judy, are canned veggies okay or just frozen veggies? Canned veggies are fine.
If you're watching your salt, you may want to get the no salt added option so that the sodium is much, much less. We're not watching salt currently. We will have to at some point. But right now we are not. And so we just get
Cheryl
whatever the bulk green beans are at Costco.
Canned green beans.
Because I could make 2 cans of beans my dinner. Yeah. Like, I love green beans.
And a lot of it's eating what helps you, especially if you're transitioning, whatever that is. If you need to eat those cans of LeSueur peas, eat the cans of LeSueur peas. Unless your doctor's told you there's something in there you can't have. I know a lot of people avoid cans because of some of the stuff in the linings and blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. There's the main whole food plant-based no oil, and then you get to personalize it to whatever's going on with you. So Dr. Staff would say avoid cans, but if you're going to eat some cans, then maybe have cookware, right? So there's all these different things you can do. So my generic answer is yes. Frozen vegetables, great. Fresh vegetables, great. Canned vegetables, great. Just eat 50% vegetables, 50% starch. It's, Linda, is that Whole Harvest, is that the other meal service, I'm wondering? And Tracy said, I lived off my freezer food for 2 weeks. It was awesome, right? It's like a vacation. And you deserve that vacation. And Mona says, I can my soups and chilies along with vegetables and my pasta sauce. My freezer space is full. Mona, you and Marilyn need to come teach me how to can properly. I've always wanted to pressure can because I've seen that people can pressure can soups. You cannot pressure can in your electric pressure cooker or Instant Pot. So don't try it. You could get very sick. And Apple says, I used to crave savory and would reach for vegetables with hummus. I don't have cravings anymore. And I think sometimes cravings are physical and sometimes cravings are mental. And so for me, certain seasons, like I want all the pumpkin, super shocker. I'm even wearing the pumpkin.
Yeah, I said something today to Stacy about I was kind of upset with myself because I had microwave we have this microwave popper. I think I showed you guys before for popcorn. It's like just this glass thing, and you pour the kernels in, and it basically air pops it. And we both like a crunchy food, and so I have been having popcorn a little bit too much this week. And Stacy said to me, "Why do you think you're having it too much?" And I said, "Well, I had it like 4 times this week." And Stacy's like, "Who told you that you can't have popcorn 4 times a week?" And I was like, "Well, but I know it's not that great." And she was like, "If it's not impacting your scale and, you're keeping track of that, then you're fine. You shouldn't beat yourself up that you've had that unless it causes other problems." And I said, "Well, I don't want to get in the habit of eating a snack too close before going to bed every night again, like I used to." Mm-hmm. And she said, "Well, that would be a reason for you to monitor it then." So it was like, she was like, "Don't beat yourself up over something that's not an issue." But for me, it could become an issue. So I'm just keeping an eye on it and being very mindful of how often. If I have it during the day, like if I went and made some popcorn right now, it wouldn't faze me. But there's something about if I have it like after dinner as a snack, just sitting on the couch mindlessly eating it, that when I get done, I'm like, oh, maybe I want some more. So that's kind of making me feel like maybe I don't need so much of this at night.
And even though it's not being detrimental, and like she's cooking it with dill pickle juice in there, and it's about as clean as it could get. And I agree with Apple. Cravings are about habits and not taste buds. For me, I get more cravings around needing comfort and needing to take care of myself. So I don't always take care of myself and take the time out that I need. So, but sometimes it can be like I've been thinking about, once it gets cold, finally, making potato soup. Potato soup is something we love. We love potato soup. It's such a treat. It's super cheap. It's fine for us. But we just haven't had time to do it. So some things can be seasonal. One of my go-to dinners when I'm tired is I take some soy curls, cut up some potatoes and carrots, throw it in the Instant Pot along with water and my vegetable bouillon, a little bit of extra nooch, and make chicken stew. It takes like 10 minutes in the Instant Pot, and then we have like a meal that feels like a meal. So if I'm feeling okay, if I'm not doing it because I'll put on some rice in the rice cooker, put that on, and then it feels like we just had fancy dinner.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to really do any work. And I've also gotten to where I always have a thing of shredded carrots, and I've been getting the coin carrots too. So I could just take some out of there. I could cut some little potatoes in half. You want it to be the least effort that still kind of makes you feel like somebody made a meal for you. Maybe it's because I'm not cooking at so hard. I can just get all that together. I can go sit down on the couch, and then Cheryl can bring it up, and it makes it feel really nice. Let's see. We're talking about cheese sauces. There's all kinds of yummy cheese sauces. And Mona says, my sugar craving isn't an old habit. I rarely had sweets before, as I was a carb and salt girl, carb, salt, and fat girl. So the potato works in those rare occasions. And she's talking about the white sweet potatoes, and also regular sweet potatoes really hit it for me. So I'll take it and I'll mash it up. I'll use like this little avocado masher. I put, I don't know, maybe 2 tablespoons-ish, maybe 1/8 of a cup of non-dairy milk, whatever sweetener I'm using. So it could be some vegan honey, a little bit of maple syrup. And vegan honey is not made from bees. It's made from dandelions, in case your dander is up a little bit. You could use a little brown sugar. You could use some date paste, date syrup. And then I'll put a little bit of pumpkin pie spice in there. And it's It doesn't look nice. I'll tell you this right. It does not
tasty.
look nice.
But it's very tasty.
And I like mine cold, and Cheryl likes hers hot, heated up. I never did try keto. Our doctor was turned to paleo / dabbling in the keto, but no. Even when I had friends who did it, just like the whole fat bomb and things like that, it just wasn't going to really fit with me. My doctor wanted us to eat tofu and steamed vegetables, and no more than a half a cup of rice a day.
Right.
So I don't know what it's called, but it's
I tried keto though. Back when I was eating meat, this was probably in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I tried the keto. It lasted a week or two because Kathy has never ever cooked meat. So
that's how I went vegetarian.
So
I tried to cook meat once, and I was like, "Yep and no."
So she was like, "If you want to do this, that's fine, but you're going to have to cook for yourself." So I went and bought a bunch of chicken patties, and she got me a George Foreman grill. And after a week or week and a half of having to cook my own stuff, it was so frustrating for me, and I could never get it the way I wanted it. So I was just like, "I'm done. I'm going back to eating whatever you make."
Yeah. And Kitty Mama says, recently went to what used to be my favorite South Indian restaurant and specializes in dosas. And I love dosas. For those of you who don't know, it's a fermented bean and rice batter that's made into crepes. If you make it into pancakes, they're called uttappams. And I have a multigrain recipe on plantbasedinstantpot.com that is whole food, plant-based, no oil. It uses millet, brown rice, quinoa, and uridal. And you literally put them you soak it in the blender, blend it up, you put it in your Instant Pot, you let it sit overnight, and then you have this beautiful fermented batter that's really nice. In the restaurants, they usually put ghee on the dosas, and then it's filled with this potato and onion dish that can also be oily. But it's very easy to make at home. I totally cheat with the insides. I mash up some potatoes, put some garam masala and a few spices on there and a little bit of salt. And we just use that instead. It's not even close to what a traditional recipe would be for that.
But it hits the spot.
Yeah. And I love this. Apple was saying getting rid of oil wasn't a problem, and I like how much easier it is to clean up. And it's true. When I was doing some Ninja Creamy Pints, I tried their recipe with coconut milk, and I thought, I was like, I've got to put this in the dishwasher. It's never going to stop being greasy. It's way easier to hold, just never mind. I'm just going to stop that thought right there. Let's see. Oh, electric
Carbarella.
I just found out I'm working 16-hour shifts through Friday. I'm able to sleep and shower here, so I'll be digging in jars of no-salt canned vegetables and beans. Yeah. I did see where someone made a cargo kit, so they have like a little box, and they had cooked those things of cooked rice. I think it was cooked white rice, but I know at Costco right now they have the roasted garlic, quinoa, and brown rice packets. They're not cheap. Had a can opener, a can of black beans, and some salsa packs. And if got caught in traffic or anything like that, could pull it out and make himself a bowl. And I thought that was just so brilliant. And Liz says, I agree, salt was much harder to give up than oil. Yeah, and here's the thing. So the program we're on is not salt-free. However, if you were in Dr. McDougall and you have a serious condition that salt would exasperate, he might put you on a no-salt diet too. But like Dr. Goldhammer, Chef AJ, their diets are no salt, sugar, or oil.
Flour or alcohol as well.
Yeah, well,
Chef AJ.
And Chef AJ and Dr. Goldhammer, it's kind of the same thing. And Elizabeth says, I'm eating smaller portions and always leave food on my plate. So that was going back to I'm not losing weight. So I'm still wondering what is in the stuff that you are eating. Like, are there a lot of nuts, seeds, avocados? Because that can help some people hold on to weight.
Breads or flours.
Things like that. Yes, and if you go and look, it's not his 12-day program isn't free online, but he gives all the information free online. It's just, if you go to I think it's drmcdougall.com and look up for the free program, I will come back and put that here. The program we're on when we're live, I can't really, well, I might be able to, can I? Ooh, I can post because we're just on YouTube right now, so let me, because I have it bookmarked. Nope. There we go. And what it is, basically, it's just you go through it on, all right. Okay, now I have to go back. But that will give you that information. So all the information to do the program is free. It tells you what to eat, what not to eat. You can go and look and see kind of what Mary's Mini is. There's all kinds of stuff. And Christina says she refuses to go back to tracking. And Lizard asked, did you eat any nuts, seeds, or nut butters while you were participating in the 12-day McDougall program?
No.
No. Now, with the caveat, we have not really had. You've had a couple of nut dustings, so like a half.
I ate a handful of nuts one day when I was just really hungry. Yeah.
So for most of the program right now, we're limiting avocado nuts and seeds, and we're trying to pay good attention to our flours.
And we did share some avocado when we went to the Cheesecake Factory.
We shared like a quarter of an avocado.
Yeah.
I wasn't too worried about that, but no, definitely.
I'll sprinkle some little nuts
That I chopped.
She chopped up very tiny. I call it nut dust because it's mostly dust and not full nuts. But I'll sprinkle a little bit of that on top of like a creamy creation that she makes.
Yeah. So in general, no. But like we've done some almond milk, some cashew milk because I have some Joy. So sometimes that nut milk could be in there, but we're not eating nuts or making cashew sauces or things like that. Like, I think the difference, Forks Over Knives and Dr. Campbell's China study stuff isn't geared necessarily to trying to lose weight. So they are definitely more nut heavy. Dr. McDougall says when you're happy with what you see in the mirror and your numbers are good or you need to gain weight, that's when you can do nuts and seeds and avocado. They're not bad foods. Not that any foods really should be looked at as good, but they can keep you holding on to weight if you're trying to lose weight, is a way to look at it. And someone was reading The Potato Hack by Tim Steele, and I haven't heard of that. Yeah, we love Ezekiel buns, and since I have a little bit of a gluten intolerance, but like I just ate one last night and I'm not really swollen. So I was swelling up really bad, but since we're eating less wheat anyhow, it's not really bothering me at this point. Yeah. And Terry, I shared it down below. It's not free 12-day program. This is information on the site about how to do the starch solution diet. And Jeremy's saying Planet Oat has an oil-free oat milk, and that's great. I just want people to check and make sure whatever oat milk they're having or whatever non-dairy milk they're having, that it doesn't have oil, including vegan yogurt sometimes can have it. Oh, sorry, it's Liz, not Lizard. I take everything for face value. And jalapenos are delicious. And hey, Chuck, it's nice to see you joining us again. Let's see. Ooh, Carlene just made a bechamel sauce based on boiled parsnips. I love parsnips for that. Also, turnips can be really good. And if you feel like turnips have a sharp flavor, roast them first, then make them into a sauce. And often that flavor will go away. Ms. Crab says, I'm trying to limit fat, but oatmeal, garbanzo beans, and even zucchini has fat. How do you keep the fat down? So someone asked this in my free heartbeat group. So no added oil is not the same thing as no fat. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is whole food, plant-based, no oil is not a no-fat diet.
Mm-hmm. It's a low-fat diet.
Right? Because oats, garbanzo beans, soybeans, all these things do naturally contain fat. So a lot of times people will go, well, you're going to get dementia if you don't add oil to your diet. And it's like, no, it's not about oil. It's about fat. And fat exists in vegetables and grains and beans. Mm-hmm. So Ms. Crab, I would ask you, is there a doctor's diet you're trying to follow for this? Because in my understanding, in general,
we're still eating pretty low fat.
Yeah, we still eat low fat, but we're not trying to limit fat or count fat grams. The thing we are eliminating is oil. And oil is a refined product that's removed from food. So that's where the whole food plant-based comes in. So whole food plant-based soybeans or oatmeal, that's fat that's whole food plant-based. Mm-hmm. So we're okay with it.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps. Ooh, cauliflower bisque with parsnip. Oh, you don't like them. They can be a little tougher, but I love all the root vegetables. And Carlene says, my go-to for cheese flavor is fermented tofu from the Chinese market. Only a very small amount needed because of the strong flavor. And you can also do miso, a little soy sauce. I use lactic acid, vegan lactic, which is made from beets. And it's like $10 or $15 for a little bag, but I've been using this bag for several years. So it's a good investment. It's great in cheese sauces. It's great in my sliceable no oil cheese. And that's something that we grate. And over the program, we did use that. You can make it with chickpeas or you can make it with oats. And it's really nice. There is a recipe for the pepper jack on the YouTube channel if you want to find it. Okay. Yeah, the 12-day program is not online. The 12-day program is also kind of a year-long program. Yes, tomorrow I am on Chef AJ. It's my day. I go the first Wednesday of every month, so I'm super excited. And Chuck, it is all about the sauce. Sauces, spices, and I'm like, potions and dusts and things is what changes everything. Oh, I miss Kroger. They took our Krogers away. And Kathy labels everything with masking tape, even items in the fridge. Oh, I'm so bad about it. I'm just like, I know what it is. Aw, thanks so much. That's very sweet. Thanks for stopping in. Joanne is here and uses masking tape. Okay. You two have such insight into this process. Thank you so much for sharing. You help us all so much. That's what we want to do. We just want to be transparent. Mm-hmm. We don't have all the answers. We are just where we are, but we want to share that with you. And
maybe something we're doing can help you if you're stuck. Like I said before, everybody's body's different. Everybody's metabolism is different. Everybody has different exercise levels and things like that. But we can share what we're doing, and hopefully that inspires you and helps you to do what you need to do for you.
And the King Shaw says nighttime snacking is still a challenge. And I also saw Tracy Reese is trying to eat 1 or 2 pieces of fruit for after dinner snack. We've been doing that too, and it's great.
Yeah.
Joanne says, I love petite peas. You are on Team Cheryl.
I am Team P all the way.
I'll just let them thaw and whip them down or throw them in something. That's awesome. I wholeheartedly agree. But it's just, if I had dabbled in it, or I've had people ask me to make them more vegan, keto, creamy pints, and I'm just like, I don't want to clean that mess up because they get so greasy and yucky. And Karen says, for me, habit did turn into craving eventually, especially nuts. It took 3 months to break the habit. Now I can eat them whenever, and it doesn't bother me. I think that truly, when you're starting out, your challenges are different than if you're in the middle or at the end. And I think one of the things that I'm curious to find out is once she has more of a goal weight, I'm just like, let's see what happens. I'm like, body, where do you want to be? And when that happens and I feel satisfied, I feel like we're going to have to reevaluate everything again, and it'll be a little test. Okay, well, I had a tablespoon of cashews in our tomato creamy soup. How did that change the scale? Did that change how I feel? Did it change my cravings? Okay. I did not do the smash burger yet, but I am going to do it. I found the recipe, so it's all ready to go. We just have one video we have to make, and I have to make some soy milk, so I have some okara. But you can use, instead of soy milk pulp, leftover soy milk pulp, you could use nut pulp or oat pulp from milk making. So it's not on YouTube yet, no. Karen says, I don't eat after dinner. If I just have to eat something, I'll eat a dill pickle. That sounds good too.
Yeah.
Okay, and Elizabeth says, no, I've stopped eating bread, no avocados. I do make some sauces with cashews in it. So what I would do possibly is take the nuts out for just like a week or two.
Yeah.
And if that means you need to finish up the food you have now and then count that as when you start, that's okay too. Food is expensive. But then
I would say take them out for maybe 10 days.
And just if you're able to track your weight or track how you're feeling. It sounds like you're weighing. So if you're weighing yourself once a week, I would do it for 2 weeks so that you could get 2 weighs. If you're weighing yourself every day, in 10 days, you should kind of see how that shakes out with your body. Because I will tell you, there are times that I will like eat something and the next day I'm 2 pounds heavier, but then 2 days later I'm 3 pounds less. So for me, having that daily check-in, because like that way I'm not just catching it on this magic window for me. That would freak me out. And just remember, even with the nuts, seeds, avocados, maybe bread even, depending on where you are and what you're trying to get to this goal. Either it's a health number, right? Like maybe it's your liver number, or maybe it's your A1C or your cholesterol, whatever this, or maybe it's a number on the scale. That's personal and to you. So we're working towards this goal, and then once we get there, then we can see how things affect us in that way. And it might be that at that point, I know that once a month we could have a cashew Alfredo. But also, I can make, some of it isn't that big a deal for me because I'll make it mostly oat anyhow. I make an oat Alfredo, an oat
I've been
cheese
real
sauces.
happy with, I've been as happy with the oat sauces as I was with her cashew sauces. So actually, I think your oat nacho cheese that you're making tomorrow is probably my favorite.
And it's so easy. Like, you can even make it when you're really, really tired if you have a high-speed blender. And you can change it. So I have jalapeno powder in it to make it like a queso, but you can put smoked paprika in it to make it be a smoky sauce. And Kitty Mama says, have you used soybean sprouts cooked in water with some garlic, spring onion, black pepper, and a bit of salt? Ooh, and they make an amazing broth that tastes like chicken broth. That sounds delicious. Oh, great. Yeah. And the thing is this may or may not be the program for you, but there's a whole world. Like someone was saying, they're using Dr. Greger's app where he eats his daily dozen and does that. So it might be, Could be Dr. Greger, Dr. Campbell, Forks Over Knives, Dr. Furman, Dr. McDougall. There's a whole bunch of them. They're all whole food, plant-based, no oil.
And like I was going to say, the one thing that they all have in common is no oil, no meat, no dairy, no eggs, no fish.
Yeah, so they're vegan. Well, and they're even beyond vegan because they're whole food plant-based, meaning an Oreo is not okay. An Oreo can be vegan, but an Oreo isn't whole food plant-based.
Right.
And so we got this question twice, so I'm going to ask you again. So what method did you use to quit smoking?
Basically, cold turkey did it for me. Like I said, I quit every Monday. It did help that I switched from the brand that I was smoking to a brand that I did not like that well, because that kind of slowed me down.
And I think it was American
Spirits.
And it's one that doesn't have the chemicals. So like one thing that you may not realize is just how many chemicals are in like a Winston cigarette.
Yeah.
So there's the nicotine and the tobacco, but then there's all these other addictive things that they add in. So
yeah, so I had smoked those for 2 or 3 months, I guess, probably 2 months, and then I was gradually smoking less, and then like I said, every Monday I'd quit, and it didn't stick, and I'd quit, and it didn't stick, and then finally it just stuck, and it was basically cold turkey. I just said I quit today, and then I never picked them up again. It was very hard, very hard. There's a lot of mental that goes into it. There's a lot of separating yourself from places that you know that you tend to smoke. For me, I used to smoke in the car a lot, going back and forth to work and stuff. And
her car stunk.
My car stunk. Right after I quit smoking, like within the first 30 days of smoking, it was actually time. I had a leased car, and it was time for me to give up that lease or keep it. And I decided to give it up, and I got a new car, new for me car, and then I didn't smoke in that car at all. So I wouldn't smoke in the car at all. And then the other thing was I stayed away from the other places that I would like to smoke at. Like, I didn't go outside with all the folks at work that I hung out with that went out and took a smoke break. I quit taking smoke breaks with them completely. And I stayed away from places. So for me, like, if I went out and had a drink somewhere, I'd have a cigarette in my hand if I was having a drink. So that was also at the same time when I decided that I wasn't going to really drink very much at all, because drinking was something that triggered me to smoke. So I quit drinking during that time period as well. So I threw a lot of changes on myself, but I just really had to, like, you know, you wouldn't take a drug addict into a bathroom where people were doing lines of coke. And so I just treated myself like a drug addict and kept myself out of all the situations that would trigger me. And it was hard. It was a little easier because she's never smoked. A lot of our friends don't smoke. And so that made it very easy as well, in that respect. So there was no social smoking going on. And so the only other place that I had the hardest time breaking was I love to have a cigarette after dinner. I would love to just go outside and have a smoke after dinner. And so I had to find something else to replace that, you know, going out and smoking after dinner. And I think I was chewing a lot of gum then, wasn't I? Like gum and hard candy. I'm just always sucking on. It has been a long time, but I was always like sucking on hard candy and stuff like that to kind of keep me from, or we would do something to keep me like, you know, take a walk or something to keep me from wanting to, you know, let the hands get bored and stuff. And in the car for a long time, remember, I would have little popsicle, not popsicles, the Dum-Dums. Remember? The little Dum-Dums in the car?
Dum-Dum suckers, yeah. But it's been, gosh, it's
a long time.
Maybe even 14 or 15 years that you...
At least 15.
Yeah, so it's been a while too, but it was not easy. And if you are trying to help someone else quit smoking, when they ask you what you want for a present, tell them, and you know, because it helped and it worked too, and it really, when we first started dating, you were like super stealthy, because I was like, I would never date a smoker, and you were like, I don't know what you were smoking in your car then. You would have a coat.
I had my smoking jacket. I had a coat that I would always go out and smoke in, so my clothes didn't smell like smoke.
And then we had been together for a while, and she was like really lax, and I'm like, I know you're smoking, and you smell like smoke. So, but Dara is saying, my lifestyle medicine doctor wants me to avoid nuts and fats because I'm trying to lower inflammation. Dr. Goldner says the same, and she has a smoothie protocol for like lupus and autoimmune disease. Omega-6s in nuts can increase inflammation. And one of the things we noticed, even within 4 days of doing the we were doing Dr. McDougall 100%.
For 12 days. 100%.
For 12 days. But in 4 days, like, I was like, and it wasn't that I just lost a bunch of weight. I wasn't as puffy. I wasn't as inflamed. I noticed
my joints are better, and
so that alone is reason to go ahead and try it for a week. See if it works. If it doesn't work for you, there's plenty of other doctors to find the thing that does work. I find that McDougall is very clear, very easy. You know, it's just half your plate starches, half your plate vegetables. And you can have beans in there. Beans can be part of your starch. Last night I had all three, beans, rice, and vegetables. I just lived on the edge. And everybody's making jokes about, and the King's Child, I put a link, it's my affiliate link to Amazon to get the lactic acid that I use. And Terry says vinegar helps get rid of grease. And you know, that's why I would never, I think the time that we've been together, like 17 years, I've deep fried 3 times. Because then I'm like, what do I do with all this oil?
Yeah. And I hate to wash dishes that have got lots of oil on them. I just complain all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. It's good to see you, Angela. I saw some picture of you on Facebook, and you just looked beautiful and radiant, by the way. And Elizabeth says, thanks for all your advice. You both look glowing. I love listening to you. I don't know how interesting we are, but I'm glad we're helpful. And use white beans instead of nuts. Also, if you go and look on healthyslowcooking.com, I have some dry mixes that use oats that you can make gravy with, that you can make a dry bouillon, you can make a creamy sauce and things like that. And that way you can make up these and have it. So tomorrow I'm going to do the dry cheese mix, and that's what we make mac and cheese with. But you can also make a quick cheese sauce to go on your potatoes with it. Let's see if we got... Yep, and Patricia says, I love cookies and muffins. I make compliant Chef AJ ones, but can't stop with 1 or 2. What we did, so again...
And it works.
And I've got to make some more because we've had our last one. So we made probably about a dozen. I have these square silicone little muffin tins. I just said all the things and none of them made sense. I have a silicone pan that makes square muffins. Got that one. That was hard. Why is that hard? And I made us some oil-free banana chocolate chip muffins so that if she got some cravings during the McDougall program. So it took us 7 weeks to eat all of them. So we didn't we pulled them out maybe once a week.
Well, and like we've said before, we can be incredibly lazy about snacking.
Oh, and I didn't say the most important part. I made them, left 2 out, and put the rest in the freezer.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah. So because she put them in the freezer, that meant that one of us had to physically go to the freezer, pull them out,
heat them up,
stand there and watch them, make sure they don't burn, and then deliver them to the living room. And that's a lot sometimes.
What I'm thinking of doing, so I have the recipe on healthyslowcooking.com. I'm coming to get you show and tell.
Show and tell time.
I love show and tell. So I haven't used these
She's
yet.
got this screen, so like Dr. McDougall is staring at me, so I'm going to kind of move this over a little bit until you can move that out of the way. Because I'm like, I feel like I'm being judged.
Okay, no, he's fine. See, look, there you go. You're feeling better. So these are also from the same Super Cute people, and they're cookie trays. So I think I'm going to make some cookie dough compliant and put in here. And then we're going to pop them out and put them in a bag. And then we can heat one or two up in the toaster oven, have these fresh cookies.
Mm-hmm. We used to do that in the wintertime with the Lauren's. Is it Lauren's?
I think it might be Lorraine's.
Lorraine's or something. They had some vegan cookies that were just cookie dough, and you could pop them out and cook them. And we would just go and get 2 out at a time, pop them in the Breville, and then cook them. And then we'd have like fresh cookies and have like some tea and cookies. That's one of our things in the wintertime that we like to do. So
I make tea every night. It's herbal tea, and it's kind of our thing. It can be good and bad. Sometimes I have to get up and go to the bathroom extra because we stay up too late drinking tea. But Apple was saying cravings and habits are intricately linked, and I agree. And it is insidious. But so I like having the option to do some things like that or to have a cookie, but I try to plan ahead for the Kathy that's going to eat too much. The Kathy that makes them, like after I make something, I'm usually like, whatever, and I go on and I do the next thing because that's part of my work life. But if it's something I know that we are likely to overeat on, I try to portion it out. Even like with lasagna and things like that, I've been trying to portion it out so we can freeze half.
Because I will overeat lasagna very quickly.
So I think it's just a matter of thinking ahead. And again, I'll bring into it, it's doing a favor for your future self. Both making cookies that are compliant and freezing the ones so you can have them for longer instead of overeating them. So, and yes, that's exactly what that was. I was like, no.
He's got a peanut butter licky mat over there that's smothered in peanut butter, so he's happy.
And Terry said, what's the lactic acid link for? It's if you wanted to buy it. That's my affiliate link to Amazon, which means I will get a few pennies if you buy through that exact link, buy through it or not. Lactic acid, it's made with beets, non-GMO beets, and it gives it kind of this tart aged taste that fermentation often gives to cheeses. If you don't have it and you're trying my recipes that use it, you could use a little miso. You could use a little apple cider vinegar powder if you have it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And we don't want you guys to feel alone. No. And it's hard. And
that was one of the things that we realized, like after the 12-day program and talking to some of the other people that were in our cohort. I always want to say Carhartt, like, the clothes.
The pants.
Cohorts. They didn't have their partners or spouses going through it with them, and that makes it really hard. And so after seeing exactly how hard it could have been for her if I wasn't going through it and vice versa, we want to make sure that anybody who feels like they're alone in this, that we're here for you and we're going to help you through this as well. And you can just come along on this journey with us, and and hopefully we can all just get through together to where we want to be.
Right, because a lot of it's just finding some like-minded people. So if you're just starting this, whatever whole food plant-based no oil journey you're doing, or even just plain whole food plant-based, look at the doctors' groups and find some that resonate with you. Some of them aren't. Some people are not nice. And you may go into a group and go, those people are mean. Well, look for another McDougall group.
I've left a lot of groups when I was first trying to go vegan. She really did not have anything to do with me going vegan. She's never pushed me to go vegan. She was always like, you do your thing. And, she's like, I'm not going to tell you what to eat and what not to eat because that's not how I roll. And, it took Josh.
Yeah, Josh LaJohny.
It took Josh and Howard to push me over the edge for that. But
And you can go and look for Sick to Fit group. I think that they're still doing some stuff.
Yeah.
It's not quite as active, but
Yeah.
see, they're very nice people. Josh Lajani's like a ultra marathon, or was an ultra marathon runner. He feels like my little brother. So I mean, just love to pick on him. He's from Louisiana, and Howard Jacobson. You guys all know as well. But you have to let it happen when it's going to happen for you.
Yeah, I was in lots of groups and I was reading lots of things. And every time I would get excited about starting, I would be in these groups, reading in these groups. And then every time, I wasn't even like actively participating. I was just lurking in the groups. But I would read something that would just totally turn me off about the way people were talking to somebody or the way they were treating somebody. And I was like, I don't want to be a part of these people if they're like this, because this person is new. This person is trying to start on this journey, and you know they can't do it. They're asking for help. They're asking questions, and all you're doing is criticizing them for their choices. And I don't think that's right. I think that's why if you come here and you ask us questions, we are not going to criticize you for your choices. And we are going to support you wherever you are and where you need to be. And that's a fact.
Yeah, and all groups are not created equal. Find the group you love may not be a group I love, and it's okay. It's there for you to support. So Betsy also said, I've noticed that changes from eating this way are very subtle, and I will agree. I recently noticed that aches and pains aren't here anymore after eating whole food plant-based. And Fergus says, hey, y'all.
He's just like a mess.
He's our little delightful orange boy.
Now you're going to make it so I have to scrub the counter down,
Oh,
dude.
no, I'll sterilize the counter, don't worry. But it's worth it to have little kitty feet up here right with me. Let's see what else we've got here. Don't irritate him. So she's like poking his feet to irritate him. It's like having a child. And hi, Chef Julia. It's always nice to see you. I did get your email, and hopefully I will respond to it today. Oh, that's great. And Betsy said your breakfast cookies frozen are my favorite thing to snack on.
Ah, Sweet Lawrence. Yep, that's what they are.
That is exactly it. They are not compliant cookies, but they were gluten-free vegan cookies, which is what we're looking for. Lasagna is so good, isn't it?
Yeah, I cannot like lasagna. I can go through a whole pan of it if I'm not careful. So another one of the, I guess it's Italian food. I guess my thing is just Italian food. Like I mow through Italian food. So if you consider pizza Italian.
Yeah, it is Italian. I make lasagna roll-ups using eggplant, and that sounds delicious. And I've been making some okara ricotta. So I just take the leftover soy milk pulp, and then, yeah, I know his eyes are watering again. Aww.
Buddy.
When we got him, he had an issue, like he was really sick. And so whenever he gets a little bit overstimulated, his eyes are his weak point. But anyhow, let's see what else we got. Yeah, the vegan community and the whole food plant-based community both can have their overzealous way of running away the people who they could be helping. So just remember, find your people and stay with them. You know, you can look around, but don't get discouraged if the first couple of groups you go to find are not your people. It's okay. There's somebody else's people. Great. What time on Chef AJ tomorrow? 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Apple's saying that someone's been vegan for 31 years. Exactly. And I usually say that there's just like 3 mean vegans, but they make a really tight schedule. So someone says something crappy at every hour of every day and all the time zones. I know, isn't he a cute kitty?
Can you hand me my water?
Oh, sure. Sorry. I know Fergus was there. He's such a good boy. Oh, great. Okay, there's another person, Timmery Hagenberger. I'm sure I just butchered that, so I apologize. A registered dietitian nutritionist, the foodie bar way of life. That's it. I'll have to check that out. And a tofu ricotta is delicious as well. I don't really have a recipe. I literally use like a half a cup of soybeans soaked with about 4 cups of water, I think, and maybe 5 cups of water. And then when I strain it, and I use a fine mesh strainer, so it's not completely dry or anything, and then I just add some nutritional yeast, some lactic acid, garlic powder, onion powder, and some salt or salt substitute. And I said nutritional yeast, didn't I?
I think so.
Okay, delicious. So I'll probably use 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, probably a teaspoon of garlic, half teaspoon of onion, and then it already looks like ricotta. Oh, that's great. Julie's teaching a pasta class on Sunday. Yeah, that's how it is, isn't it? Next Thursday, I'm teaching a potato meal plan class, both for you and for us, because then my meals will be planned. Oh, I'm glad we're your people, Apple. You're our people too, for sure. And Liz says, thanks for your response. It's hard for me to give up tahini, almond butter, and peanut butter. Yeah, but
Peanut butter was hard for me. I still haven't had any peanut butter since we've started the McDougall stuff. And it's really hard. It's really hard for me because, like, when we have chili, I love to have, like, a slice of bread with peanut butter on it with my chili. It's just something I did when I was a kid, so it just always kind of gets carried over now as an adult. And so, yeah, peanut butter's hard for me. And having to give it to the dog all the time, and then I'm like smelling it, and like I just want to lick the spoon.
Yeah, because the dog, we've got a licking mat, so it's this thing that he really keeps him entertained, so that's super helpful. And yeah, I pronounced that name right. And yes, people can be cruel, and you've got to remember, you got to remember you can choose who you hang out with first.
Yeah.
Then, should you have the energy, you can try and remember that people are trying to do the best they can with what they have, and maybe they're in a really crappy place. But also, people get very evangelical about any solution that works for them or that they feel morally strong about, even food. And so that's one of the things, and because Cheryl feels morally strong about this doesn't mean I do. And maybe that's not going to be a good reason for me to give up something I love. So you just kind of have to search for what works best for you.
And I found myself, like, early on getting a little excited and ramped up about things, and then being like, I don't understand why this is so hard, and blah 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 blah.
Why isn't my mom doing this?
Yeah,
why is friends doing
you
this?
know, and then I kind of had to rein it back and I go, well, I wouldn't have been able to do this 5 years ago. So
Right.
like,
people have to get in their right spot, and the thing is in
what is it that Chef AJ said? When the pupil is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
So.
And there is that too. And just remember that everybody's in different places. And if you're in a really solid place, like Apple's, I feel like it's a really solid place. If you go into a group that's a lot of new people who are really struggling, that might not, if you have that energy to give and to help other people, that's great. If you don't, and you need it this week so that you can stay on your track, then pull back. But I think, the whole putting your own oxygen mask on before you help other people is something I struggle with, and that I'm trying to work through. Like, since this is also my business and my lifestyle, so I'm trying to process a lot of that, and I still feel discombobulated by somebody. I love talking to you guys. I've been talking to for a bazillion years, and I feel like you're the safest community for me to share my true journey with, ups and downs, So that feels real good. And I think you've been feeling really good about it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the support. Like, I've always used to tell Kathy, like, she'd always be like, oh, we should sign up for this thing, and they have community forums and all this, and I'm like, whatever. I've never been one to like to participate in forums and stuff, and I always would say, I don't need all that community stuff like you do. Well...
But you weren't changing anything either.
I wasn't, right? So now I realize the benefit of having all that community stuff, and I feel differently about it now. I don't feel like it's all woo-woo, touchy-feely, kumbaya. Like, it's necessary, right? It's a necessity. You've got to have somebody that's in a like-minded place, that when you're having a day that you're just like, ugh, you can just vent to them on, I had a peanut butter sandwich. Like, just, and they're not going to go, oh, they're going to be like, well, you know what I had this week? So.
You just need someone who's going to accept you where you are and help you figure out what you need if you want to course correct. But also, when you're doing whole food plant-based or whole food plant-based no oil, the world that understands you is smaller. Like, even some of our friends who are doing Forks Over Knives, which is a whole food plant-based no oil diet, do not understand what we can and can't eat on the McDougall program. Like, we limit nuts and seeds and avocado. Anything you're making is fine. Well, we made this with almond flour. It's fine. Because, like, I'm not going to, with them in particular, I'm not going to be as much of a stickler as with me. So if any of y'all want to make us a whole food plant-based meal with no oil, we'll come eat at your house gladly. But everybody makes it a little harder. So having people who are kind of doing what you're doing or even adjacent to what you're doing can be really nice. Now, Tracy Reese says, I miss my PB sandwiches. And one thing I would say too, and I just thought about this, is there's the PB2, which is the peanut butter powder, which has gotten the fat taken out of it. And that's an option too. Justine says, what would the differences for using tofu for the ricotta versus okra? And she means okara. Okara is the byproduct of the soy milk making process, right? So you don't. That's mine. You don't have to listen.
Oh, I thought it was mine.
So it's just different. It's just kind of like, what's the difference between a bean burger, black bean burger, and a garbanzo bean burger? It's going to depend. It's mostly you're tasting whatever you put in there anyhow. I like the texture, and they're both made with soy. So if you can eat soy, you're good to go. Okay, this person lives in Florida and does classes. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Peanut butter. I'm seeing lots of peanut butter is my weakness. Let's see what we got. Yeah.
Hagen burger.
Hagen burger. I knew it was some.
Have a burger.
Have a burger.
I was like, that's a cool site. I might have to check that out. Have a burger.
And does classes online. Well, hopefully maybe one day we'll get to meet because that would be great. Yes, and this is great, YouTube 88. The first rule of social work is you can't want more for someone than they want for themselves. And that's a great way to think about it because every choice we make, we choose to get something and to give something else up. And you can't make someone ready to give anything up.
Yeah, I mean, I've said several times over the years about in some situations where she's just been very frustrated because she's been trying to help somebody and they're not, and I said, you cannot help somebody that's not willing to help themselves. But I feel like if you're here and you're asking questions, you're trying to help yourself. So we're going to be there for you.
Right. And so, yeah, one of the things I'm trying to, if I have a little bit of energy left over, for other things, great. But I want to help me and I want to help people who already know they want to make some sort of change. And it can be confusing. That's one of the reasons why we're Team McDougall. And it's not that the other teams are bad. just this is the team we picked. So we had because what's hard is if you go to McDougall, then you go to Dr. Greger who says eat a certain amount of Brazil nuts, and you go to this one who says eat, or Dr. Esselstyn who says eat less than that. And if you pick one, learn that one set of rules, start reaching your goal, and then you can kind of go, I can add 2 Brazil nuts a month, and that works for me, and I feel better. But I think it's too much to like go, okay, I'm throwing up my old way of being completely, and now I shall take on these 17 ways of being. I just think it's too complicated.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody stop talking about the peanut butter. Everybody's making each other crazy. I'm not going to talk about that. Carlene said, I did the November 2021 12-day program and still Zooming with 4 other participants, including Stephanie, who she's told me about every week. Best support, and found a fabulous plant-based family doctor, and that's all amazing. And sometimes let's say you can't afford to go through the Dr. McDougall program, you can find 4 other people through different groups or through here and see if there are people who want to meet together. I did start a whole food plant-based no oil thread in the Heartbeat group, which is free, so you can go and ask questions and be supportive, and there will be different, it's not just McDougall, so you can go and talk about that. If I'm in there trying to answer your question, I may ask you some questions about your rules. Oh, Angela, I didn't know you work with her on her platform for exercise. That's awesome. I love that. And Jane says, my sad eating husband, and sad meaning standard American diet, in case someone doesn't know, loves the PB2 powder. And I think I've been mixing it up with pumpkin for Max, because our dog Max has had tummy problems, and that kind of helps him. Oh, I'm so glad that you've enjoyed this, and hopefully that helps a little bit. I know it's very hard to say just don't eat nuts, and I mean I have a lot of nuts around, and I was making a lot of nut milks and things, but I think one of the reasons I stopped making sauces with nuts is because they're expensive, and now I'm mad about everything being expensive. And that, I do have, over the years, done a lot of recipe development for Chef AJ and Chef AJ's group, and they can't have nuts. I really like to find recipes that everybody can eat, and oats are just magic. Yeah. So they're cheap. You can make anything out of them. It's so creamy and delicious, and it thickens up really good. Yes, Christina says, I have nobody in my personal life that understands this lifestyle. Very thankful for this online community, and it can be really, really, really hard just to live in a world by yourself, because some people don't understand vegan. Right? They still just don't get vegan, much less now whole food plant-based, and then also with plant-based being co-opted in many different ways. One, co-opted by the beef people who say that doesn't mean you only eat plants, that means you have mostly plants and a little bit of meat. I saw a beef council say that at a conference. Yep. And then like Beyond Meat and Just Ag and things are calling themselves plant-based, and they are plant-based, but then that confuses plant-based with whole food plant-based. Right. No one understands that distinction. Yeah. And so, yeah.
And it can be isolating, like if, we've had a lot of people talk to us about, they're like, I just feel so isolated because I don't feel like I can go out and have dinners anymore, and I don't feel like I can go visit my friends anymore and stuff. And, like I've said before about, make it less about the food and more about the social.
Take a walk together.
Yeah. Try to make a plan to something else that's not at a restaurant. Or, like I've said before, if you go to the restaurant, eat before you leave. And then when you get to the restaurant, just get something small to have in front of you, like a salad, something that's compliant. Bring your own dressing. And just have it there to take bites of, because really you're going to be talking, you're going to be interacting with your friends, and and you can just,
well, one of the
enjoy
things,
that time socially.
yeah, because you could do a couple of things. So, like, maybe you say, let's meet at, if you eat early like we do, let's meet at 7, and I'll bring a watermelon over.
Yeah.
Or, I got these great blood oranges in the winter. Let's go share some of those, and I'll bring some tea that I just got. Mm-hmm. So you can still have it around a sharing sort of experience. We're still putting on our sea legs with all that too.
Yeah, we're still navigating it a bit, but so far so good.
But just kind of figure it out the best you can. So like we right now are talking with a friend about going to a show on Thursday that's from 6 to 9. And so I just said, do you want to eat something before then? Because I'm thinking I can bring a super stew there. They can have whatever other things they want to have, but then I would take care of our eating and just make it. In the past, I don't know, probably the past decade, I make it just a part of my life that I bring. If you invite me over to dinner, I'm bringing a whole dish that I can eat. And then if you don't want it, if you want it, great. And if only we eat it and you like it, but you didn't eat it, I'll leave half for you, right? So it can be just seamlessly put in.
How many times have we taken a dish somewhere and it was supposed to be for us, and then everybody else eats it and we get like a tiny little bit of it? It's happened so many times. Oh, I'm not going to eat the vegan food. You can bring your food, and then everybody eats it. So.
Right, and that's even with soy. I thought soy curls were too weird. I really did. I'm like, okay, now I've gone too weird for them.
Yep.
I'll bring just a little bit extra, and I was like, dang, I'm going to go fill out my plate so then y'all can have the rest. But it's very interesting. And YouTube 88 says, I didn't realize how much my social life was about food until it became whole food plant-based. And it's same for us. Like we like eating out at Disney. We're in these immersive experiences, but we can still go there and have a piece of our meal, right? We can still go and enjoy that. So we're at the process now that we're looking at what does that
look like for us,
And Mona says, I've been told I'm too restrictive, and that person actually kept telling other people in the group she didn't know why I mentioned restaurants to go to because I won't eat anything, and she's no longer a friend. And you are going to have some opposition, which is unfortunate because changing your lifestyle this much, and while you're wiggling around going, can I have PB2 or is that too much for me, right? You're trying to take these times to make these decisions. You really don't need a friend saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. Let's go to the bookstore. Let's go take with Howard and Mia, we ate at their house a lot during the pandemic, but we also took walks a lot. So you can try and do some things around there. But we have gone over our allotted 2-hour time, which I sometimes a couple of people said that's too long, and I'm like, it's too long for me too. But we barely get to the end of all the questions and answers. Right. So this could one day be 1 hour. I don't know. I know, and
it'll get there.
It got longer because we were on one live. It shut down, and now we've been on this live.
Well, I think as we do more stuff and there's more opportunity for people to see us, we might be able to make them smaller because we'll be there more often.
We are also finding our sea legs on this as well, and we're just trying new things. Like we took you guys for a walk yesterday with the dog, and I was like, no one's gonna, and this is how I start every experiment we do. No one's gonna want to see this, and I'm so glad you guys are enjoying it.
And I can't wait to show everybody all the toys I've been getting for my Go stuff, right?
Yeah, so she is going to do a video, probably a live on the Go bag. I'm also
still waiting for the actual bag to get here. So.
And we've got some Ataki things that we're going to be cooking on, so I'm going to test cook some things in them. So we have a whole bunch of stuff coming up, and and I know that I keep saying I'm going to do 80,000 things, and I can only do like 4. So if there's something you need really quickly, email me at kathyhester@gmail.com. You can also email Cheryl at cherylpurser@gmail.com. Those are our real email addresses. Yep. So any fancy email addresses just get forwarded there. But if you have some questions, especially identify with what Cheryl's going through, or maybe you have a spouse that was a little reluctant too. Let's see. Da-da-da-da-da. And Patricia says, wow, I was also told by a best Indian friend I was too strict, but an Indian doctor even told me an Indian restaurant food is too high in fat.
Yeah.
And it can be, for sure. Oh, this is great. Julie says, progress. My friends are having a Greek dinner this weekend, and we are all bringing food. Someone's bringing Greek salad and putting all the add-ins on the side because of me, and that's beautiful.
Great.
And that's a good friend.
Yeah, those are good friends.
Because I think sometimes, too, when we get older, we have friends and we have good friends.
Yeah.
And good friends are going to learn along with you. That's awesome. Yeah, everybody's interested in the go bag, and she's came home with Faith from a walk, and like there were packages all over the front door, and she's Faith's like, what are those? I'm like, I don't know. Cheryl had the credit card last night. So, and then even some of the little things that we're going, like the Itaki, Itaki stuff is more expensive than the stuff on Amazon, but like there's a little, no, it's too late. I'm not going to show.
Some of the stuff, like some of the stuff that I've gotten is also like, it's not completely necessary, but I am going to show the benefits of it. We tested out one of the items that I bought that was kind of on the expensive side, but when we went over to have our last dinner with Christine and Kevin, it takes about 40 minutes to get there from here, and
everything stayed warm.
Everything stayed amazingly warm.
And we could cook potatoes in there, or like, but we are going to be doing a lot of individual videos on those as soon as, I may never get caught up, but before we go on our trip, if we don't get them before we go on our trip, we're going to film using them on our trip and what works and doesn't work. Those probably will be pre-recorded videos. Yeah. But I'm just so glad that you guys are hanging out with us, and we hope that we're helping. If you had some questions that you were too shy to ask, or you just didn't want to ask publicly, feel free to email us. Kathy Hester at Gmail, Cheryl Purser at email, just our names.
Gmail.
What is it?
At email.
Oh, at Gmail. I'm losing my voice. I'm getting tired. This is 2.5 hours. This is about my cap on things. I've been losing my voice from being on live so much.
Yeah, she has.
So, but we love you guys, and we appreciate you spending so much time with us. And next week on Tuesday, we're going to have Stacy, our health specialist. Mm-hmm. Am I saying it right this time?
Support specialist.
Support specialist, who we meet with every week for the McDougall program, and we met every day during the actual program itself. So we've got a couple more weeks of weekly. Then we have monthly till the whole year's out. So you have that support. So if you guys have some questions for Stacy, or specific questions about the McDougall program, be sure to email them to me at kathyhester@gmail.com, and we'll ask her as many questions as we can. Chances are that's going to be an hour and a half show. It's going to be, we can't make her stay. But if you guys still have a lot of questions, we can stay after and try and talk about that. Aw, and Angela says, I love this particular group because it's more diverse than others. Oh, I hope you're talking about this. If you're talking about another group, I'm sorry if I'm taking that away from you guys, but I don't see it. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, go forth, do something kind to yourself, like really kind. Even if it's unload the dishwasher now so you don't have to do it later, or if your dishwasher's already full, go ahead and start it, to taking a stroll outside, take a nap, read a nice book, throw some stuff in the slow cooker, make your dinner, put it on high. You might still be able to make it, okay? So have an amazing rest of your day. Did you want to say anything else?
No, I think we're good. Look for us trying out our next adventure. I think we're going to try doing a little treadmill Peloton talk. together, actually.
Yeah, so we're going to see if these mics will do the split level of the
Yeah.
house. So you will get another new and exciting experiment probably before the week's over.
Yep.
Big hugs, and we will see you very, very soon.
Bye, everyone.